It's the Kenner Chronicles, ramblings of a toy junkie. Tonight's episode, Fear in the Underwater City.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Kenner Podcast. Man, it's been a long time. I know I was supposed to do this every 2 weeks, and what are we, almost a month since the last one? Sorry, like I said in the last one, it's gotten really crazy, and it's just gotten even crazier. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time. I got laid off work again. Can you believe that? Anyone that's been following me on Twitter might know I've got laid off work last December. I was out of work for about 7 months. Got a new job, laid off again this December. Can you believe that? So we haven't talked Kenner in a long time. We haven't talked Star Wars. Can you believe The Last Jedi is out and we haven't even talked about it? Now, like most of you probably know that follow me on Twitter, you know how I feel about The Last Jedi. A lot of you loved it, a lot of you hated it. We're going to get into that. This is something I want to bring up because it just happened today. I put a video up on it and we're going to have a lot more details about that. And we're going to give the toy away soon. But here's what I want to talk about because I've seen a lot of people say, is this real? Junkman, are you trying to pull a prank on us or are you fooling us? So if you don't know, this is what happened. First, I'll be honest, I got a call from a friend that knows I collect Star Wars toys. He doesn't really know about them or anything like that. He said, we were just talking about Kmart. He said, man, you might want to check out Kmart because they're clearancing off a lot of stuff. And he said he saw some old stuff up there. And I said, well, let me run it there and check it. Because I know they're going to close this coming Sunday. I walked into Kmart, really wasn't paying attention, didn't think I'd find much because I've been there probably 6-7 days before that, and they didn't have anything at all really good. I think they had one of the new Hasbro figures of from The Force Awakens. It was like a Doom buggy or something that came with Finn. I don't remember exactly. I was going to get it for my son, but me and my son went in there to check it out today. And I got around the toy aisle, turned down the aisle, was looking at figures, and I thought, oh, awesome, look at vintage car. You remember Hasbro, we did a vintage toy line where they put Kenner on the package and they put a new figure on a package that looked like a vintage card. And that's what I thought it was. It didn't really hit me. And then I noticed, I said, man, I started looking at the Gamorrean Guard and I said, wait a minute, that's a vintage Gamorrean Guard on a card. And the video didn't show this. I looked at the back of it and I hung it back on the shelf. I said, I got to record this. So I did go around. I was just step back, took a deep breath, got my phone out. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like recording stuff. I know I do these videos of me at the antique mall or at an antique store looking for Star Wars stuff, what we call the Hunting for Star Wars series. A little secret just between me and you guys, if you watch those videos, the voice of it is me. I add the voice into the video, usually later, because I don't like walking around these stores with my phone out talking to my camera. So it's really uncomfortable for me to walk around with that camera. With people walking around. There were a lot of people at this Kmart. At least a lot of people for Kmart standards. So I pulled the camera out and I kind of whispered. I was like, can y'all believe what I found? A vintage figure. And I think I had some other stuff in my hand. You can hear me when I reach for that figure that I kind of drop it. You can drop everything else trying to get it off the peg. So I slid it off the peg. Looked at the back of it, saw it was a 77 back card. Now, I've had a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter or whatever tell me, hey, are you playing a joke on us? There's no way that this was been found on the store. This is what I'll say. This is my honest thing I have to say about this. I walked into that store, turned to it's not really a toy section now. It's just what's kind of left. Because like I said, the store is going out of business. But I turned that section, and I saw that figure. And like I said, I thought it was one of those vintage Hasbro figures that they did with the vintage card. Did my friend or someone play a trick on me? Which was, my friend, I don't know where he would have got a vintage figure out to play a trick on me, and being he wasn't there. But did someone play a trick on me? Did somebody have this figure at home and say, hey, I'm going to take this Kmart just to fuck with somebody? Maybe that happened. I don't know. All I can say is I walked in there, and people ask me, say, if I did it, and I'm not going to walk in with with a vintage action figure, walk into a store. One thing, I wouldn't know how to get it out. Do I walk right out of the door with it in my hand and have the store stop and say, hey, what are you doing? What is that? And I have to explain to some Kmart manager that, hey, I brought this into the store so I could take a picture of it on the shelf. I couldn't do that. And then, can you imagine getting arrested for trying to bring something into a store? Will they arrest you for that? And then I would have to show proof. Hey, I brought it in. I'm just taking it. That would be too embarrassing. I could not bring myself to do that. And I did. Also on the video, I scanned it, and I wish I recorded it better than me scanning it, because people always ask me, why can't I see the figure when you scan it? That's because I'm trying to scan it and film it with my hands at one time, and I didn't do a good job. So I apologize for that. And like I said in the video, it doesn't scan Star Wars figures. It scans Star Wars box. And I've come to find out since I posted that video, what it was scanning, I believe. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this. They had some kind of new, I think it was from the Last Jedi. They're like micro machines. It's like a cube, and it opens up, and there's like a vehicles in it, like a little small X-Wing or TIE fighter. That, I believe, what it was scanning. And they had probably 20 or 30 of these little things. So this is my theory. Again, I might be wrong, so I might be pulling my leg. Is that, this store's closing this coming Sunday. Every time I go in there, it's shrinking. It's getting less and less. They're taking these racks out. They're selling the racks. They're selling everything out the back. They're pulling everything out. Some of the tiles missing. The roof's falling in. The store looks like a tornado hit it. So I'm thinking that they pulled one of these. The whole where toy section used to be isn't anymore. Is completely gone. So I think, there's no shelves, there's nothing over in that area anymore. And I'll say it here, I've been buying, I've been shopping this Kmart for almost all my life. And that toy section has been over there. They've moved it, yeah, but it's been there a long time. So I'm guessing that either in the back room or something, under those shelves or something, someone found just this Gamorrean guard, nothing else. I hope not. It'd be great if they found others and I go back in there Friday and there's more. But they found this Gamorrean guard. And someone at the store scanned it or said, what is this? We don't know. And it wouldn't scan. Or maybe some other customer was going to buy it and it wouldn't scan, so they put it back on the shelf. Kmart. Now, I don't know how the UPS. I don't know how the UPC scanning system works. My theory, again, if anybody out there knows about how retail works, this might be completely bullshit, so let me know. But here's what I think happened is that they couldn't scan it, so they said, hey, we got these other little Star Wars micro machine things here. They look like about the same price of an action figure. Let's just link the barcode on this figure to those. Probably scanned it, did something in the computer, and that's why when I scanned it, it came up as those little micro machine cars. Again, this is just a theory. I'm not sure. But I can tell you this. I did not sneak an action figure into Toys. I did not sneak a figure into Kmart. I wouldn't have done that. I would have been so nervous that one of my vintage card would have got damaged. Two, that I wouldn't be able to get out with my vintage card. And I don't know, three, I just couldn't do it. So the video's up on YouTube in case you want to know what I'm talking about right now. In case you haven't seen it, but it's really taking fire for me. Like I said, it usually takes me, my best videos get around 250, 300 views. 1,000 is really good, but all that, and this video's been up only a few hours. I'm at 700 views, so that's very good for me. But I just wanted to kind of go more into depth about that because I didn't really talk a lot about it on the video because I didn't know it was going to be this much, this popular, and people was going to ask me so many questions about it. And the other thing, we are going to give away, I've got 2 Gamorrean cards. I already had one. I'm going to give one of them away. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to check the card and see which one I want, which one I don't want, which one looks the best. So you're not going to get the best looking one, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. If you're listening to this podcast, near the end of this podcast, I'm going to give a number out. If you email me that number, I will randomly select someone to give the Gamorrean card to that emails me that secret code number. I'm also going to send them, I'm probably going to do 3 or 4 gifts all together. One will get the Gamorrean guard. The other prizes will not be as good. It might be a shirt from our store. It might be a sticker. It just might be something crazy. But that's what I'm going to do. So listen toward the end of this podcast for that special number. Another thing I want to say about this Kmart is about 2 years ago I walked into this Kmart. They were doing some remodeling, some changing around. And I found a bag of Ewok balloons for like a party bag. But you could tell from the bag that that's been there since 83, 84. It was vintage bag. It wasn't some new balloons. I don't know. So apparently they found that. And about a few years before that, they found probably a whole series 1 of this Just Bend-'em Star Wars figures. And that's just Star Wars stuff. You know, if you walk that whole store, you probably find other old boxes of stuff. So my only thing is this Kmart, they didn't know what they were doing. And I used to work in this Kmart. Back in 94, 95, I was a retail service rep for Hasbro. When I worked for Hasbro, we would service that store. And in fact, I found some I found some Benhams there also. There's one of the podcasts where I talk about this, about finding them there. But this store, like many other Kmarts anyway that I would go in, their back room's horrible. If I'm remembering right, we had two Kmarts. One of them had kept all the toys upstairs. It was just, remember the wooden floor, dust everywhere, and boxes everywhere. It was horrible. So I'm guessing, I can see where something fell back there and got hidden back there and worked its way to the floor. I'm surprised it's in the condition it is if that happened. Now, there were a lot of dust on the figure. You can't really see that in the video, but it was kind of dusty. But that's about all I got to say. Again, listen for our special code near the end of this podcast. Email me that code. Now, I'm not going to give the normal email, the junk email. It's going to be a special Kenner email. So, again, you want to make sure you listen to this whole podcast so you get that. But I didn't want people just to listen to this part and cut the podcast off. So, somewhere between now and the end of the podcast, you will get that special code to send us an email.
A communications disruption can mean only one thing: invasion.
Let's talk Kenner toys. Instead of one big major subject, I'm going to hit on some things I get asked or see asked about the Kenner, mostly Star Wars line here and there. The first one is the main one I hear all the time. Why didn't Kenner do a Governor Tarkin action figure? First, let's look at if they would have done it. I've talked about this before. The last podcast talked about this. In 1985, they had this whole plan of doing a whole new expanded universe of figures. And Tarkin was going to escape the Death Star in their storyline. And he was going to be a main focus of this line. If we got figures past Power of the Force in 85, 86, we would probably have gotten a Tarkin in that expanded universe line. Even if we didn't, let's say there was a Power of the Force Series 2. Power of the Force was going back to all the movies. They were doing stuff from, they didn't, but they could have done stuff from Empire. They did stuff from A New Hope and Jedi mostly. So as you can see, their plan for Power of the Force was to merge all three movies together. I'm pretty sure we would have got a Tarkin in the Power of the Force Series 2. But that still doesn't answer everybody's question of why didn't we get a Tarkin? Why wasn't there one in the Star Wars line? There's really nothing concrete about a reason why. Someone told me they didn't think Tarkin signed the likeness rights away. But that's not really the truth either, because everybody, from what I understand, except for those twin aliens, signed away their likeness rights when they did Star Wars. Likeness rights, especially for movies, wasn't something anyone really considered or held on to, or usually the bargaining chips back then. Most of the toy lines back in the 70s, 60s were, if they were based on anything, they were mostly based on the films. Now, I think you did have some Planet of the Apes toys, but they also had a toy Planet of the Apes TV show. Because TV shows was something that came into your house every week, So it was easier to market that. Movies back then would come and go. You would go see a movie. It would leave your theater in a couple of months. You would never see it again. If you did, you might see it on some late night TV channel, 4 or 5 years later at 2 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't something where kids would have to go out and buy the figures and play with them and go see the movie again and buy the figures. So Star Wars really changed all that. It really changed how toys were marketed. After Star Wars, every movie wanted to have a toy line. But why no Tarkin then? Well, let's be honest. He's an old man. He's not really looks like something kids want to play with. Of course, the first series, you're going to have to throw out there your heroes. You're going to have Luke Skywalker. You're going to have Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, 3PO and R2, Obi-Wan. So there's your heroes right there, 6. And then you're going to have somebody to fight him with. You're going to have to do Darth Vader. He has to be in Series 1. So that leaves about 5 more figures to do if they're going to plan for 12. Let's be honest. What are kids going to buy? Now, take your mind. A lot of people I talk to about this, they say, well, look at the figures they make. And they mention all these figures that Hasbro makes now. But that's not really, you can't really think in terms of today, how people buy toys. Go back to 1977, 1978. The market wasn't collectors. Sure, even back then you had collectors. But I would guess that had to be 1% of sales was to collectors. 5% at the most. So when we talk toys, we're talking what's going to market to kids. And not 20-year-olds, not collectors. What were kids going to buy? So you're down to only needing, and once you did your basic core heroes, or, well, counting Vader, your core main characters, you had to expand. So who else would you do? What the kids want walking down the aisle? Aliens would catch their eye, and droids. So to continue the first 12, you got a Tusken Raider, Sandman, perfect for kids to play with, because you needed villains also. Because you had a lot of heroes, you didn't have many villains. So for the hero line, you needed somebody to go with Darth Vader. I know you're thinking, here's where Tarkin's going to come in. Wrong. So you got the Sandman, you got Tusken Raiders, and then you got, Jawa, which can act kind of a bad guy, but then, and it's alien, so he appeals to the kids to be an alien. Who else did you have in that first 12? I think I left Chewbacca off in the main character list, did I? Anyway, but they did give us a Death Star Commander, Death Squad Commander, whatever you want to call him, Death Star Commander back then in the first series, which to me is Tarkin. He doesn't look like Tarkin, but as a kid playing with toys, he's Tarkin with a helmet. Let's be honest here. So I can't imagine him wanting to rush out this old man. Didn't have a gun in the movie. Didn't do nothing really but stand around. As a kid, I don't even remember Tarkin. Okay, let's talk about that. I know it might be different for you. I'm not talking to the people who saw Star Wars at the theater. Now, I was almost 5 '77 when it came out. But I know I saw it in a re-release '82, some before that. But I never knew Tarkin. I remember seeing Tarkin's pictures in I had a storybook, and the novel has some photos in it and stuff like that. But to me, as a kid, I didn't care about Tarkin. And maybe that's like I think if Kenner put him in a line, Tarkin would have been a popular character. But as a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, Tarkin was just some old dude in the movie. I couldn't even remember his name. So why didn't they make him? Again, why didn't they make him? That's what we got to get back to that core question. Why didn't they make him? I think I said that about 55,000 times. Well, Series 2 came. Perfect chance to work Tarkin in. Again, kids don't want an old man. So what did they do? They released the aliens. Well, Luke's X-Wing pilot also, but you got Snaggletooth, Greedo, Walrus Man, the whole Cantina set, which would help them sell the Cantina play set. And also, people don't like to say this, right around Series 2 time was the time the holiday special came out. I think the holiday special kind of influenced Series 2. Snaggletooth, if you look at the photo on the card, Snaggletooth looks like a holiday special action figure. It looks like that's what they based him on, a character from the holiday special. His photo on the card is from a still from the holiday special. So you had the aliens, which is going to appeal more for kids. That was it. That's the thing about this line. Now, the Empire, they made figures from 1980 to 1983, well, 1982, and then 1983 to 1985, they had Return of the Jedi figures. So each one had about 2 years of figures to make. You had, more than one series. Star Wars A New Hope line was so limited. You had those first 12, and that was already a year late. So you're already into 1978. And then by 1979, you're throwing these aliens out there for the kids, because that's what kids are going to want, the aliens. So you have this second series line that comes out with the aliens and everything, and by the time it comes out, it's closer to 1979, and then you have to start gearing up for The Empire Strikes Back. You don't got time to worry about Tarkin, who's not going to be in Empire. Now, if Tarkin was in Empire Strikes Back, I think you would have saw him in the Empire line. But you only had a limited number of figures to make between 78 and 79. You only had about a year's worth of figures to make. Now, was Kenner gonna make a Tarkin? That's the question, is why didn't they? There is a 1977 production list of figures that looks like stuff Kenner was working on or thinking about working on. Some of these figures from 1977, let me just run through them, was, well, not a figure, was the Droid Factory, and that came out. Bingo Babies, I'm not sure what that is. Anybody know what Star Wars Bingo Baby is? I'm not sure. Well, it doesn't look like it's all Star Wars on this list. I see a Steve Austin supercar, a Smash Derby set from 1978, a shocking Death Star game. I'm not really sure what that is. But when it comes to figures, one they were going to do was Star Wars Rebel Pilot, which I guess became the Luke Skywalker pilot. People can always play with him as just a regular X-Wing pilot. Another one was Rebel Ground Support Crew, which I'm guessing those guys near the end of the movie that has the funny looking helmets and ride around on. But the other figure on this list, it was apparently didn't get made, is a Tarkin figure. It was on their description list of figures to make. Why it was canceled, we don't know. It's clear that it didn't get past this stage of writing out just a name on a list or something to make. But it kind of shows there in 1977, they most likely had the likeness rights to do them because they wouldn't go through all the trouble. I mean, they knew from the beginning they wouldn't be able to make the figure. They wouldn't even put him on the list. But again, why didn't they make a Tarkin? We just have to go with what's simple. Is that he's an old man. He wasn't so good to kids. The line, I know what you're thinking. General Medine, Imperial Dignitary, they were old people too. They sold them. Again, the Jedi line had a lot more time, a lot more series, and a lot more figures. The Star Wars line from A New Hope from 78 to 79 was about a year, about 2 years at the most. They had to get, they was getting Empire Strikes Back figures out in early 80. So they had a very limited run of what they could make for that line. There's only, off the top of my head, 20, 21 figures from a New Hope line, and there's, 30 maybe from the Empire Strikes Back. So no, you had to go what was selling. You had to throw the aliens out there. It helped you sell your Cantina playset. I don't think that's the only reason. I think just kids love aliens. And you needed more bad guys for the good guys to fight with. Of course, you could say Tarkin would be a good bad guy to fight with, but again, I don't think kids would have been burning down the local toy store to buy a Tarkin figure. You got Death Star Commander kind of dressed like Tarkin already, except for the hood. So let kids just use their imagination and play with Tarkin as that guy. Somebody really wants to play with Tarkin. That's it. There's no big conspiracy why there was no Tarkin. It just wasn't time for him. They didn't think he would sell. There was just no Tarkin.
Viewer mail. Tonight is the crazy night we read viewer mail.
It's now time for Star Words. I said it right on the first try. That's kind of hard to say. My mind wants to say Star Wars. Star Words. Now, we stopped doing this on the last couple of podcasts, but I asked people out there in Twitter land if they wanted to bring it back. And shockingly, a lot of people wanted to hear this. So we're going to start doing this again. What is Star Wars, in case you haven't been keeping up with the podcast? Well, that's where I'll read some old fan letters from the old Star Wars Marvel comic series. And this time we're going to take you to January 1985 issue number 91. And let's see the title of this issue. Wookiee World. It's a whole comic book about Wookiees and Chewbacca. But why did I pick this issue? Well, I wanted to pick something kind of in the post-Return of the Jedi line. Being that we're dealing with this new saga, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and fans are split, I thought it'd be kind of neat to kind of read what fans was thinking back around this time, when Jedi was already in theaters for over a year, and the storyline was changing. So I kind of want to see the mind frame of fans back in that time. So let my old mush mouth try to read this, and apologize if you can't understand it. I'm going to do my best. Not the best reader, especially when I'm reading out loud. Dear Marvel, here's something I've been concerned with since issue 81. The overthrow of the Empire. I consider the Battle of Endor to be a major turning point for the war, but not the Empire's final defeat. The Imperial forces may have lost the outlying regions and second-class worlds, but what of the capitals and the inner system? What about the strongholds, such as Taig's industrial world and planets like Metalord? The Emperor may be dead, but what about his advisors? The Imperial Starfleet may be seriously weakened, but it's still a power to be reckoned with. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this. A galaxy-wide organization like the Galactic Empire wouldn't crumble in just a few weeks or even a few months. It will still move along with its momentum for years as it slowly falls into ruin. Mike, from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And here's the reply. As you can see, Mike, the Empire did not fully collapse when Palpatine and his forces were wiped out. However, the whole organization was traumatized, having lost their linchpin and a number of the major strongholds. It's the second-class worlds and the outlying planets that will be the dangerous areas for a while, as they are likened to be harboring undetected, undefeated forces, building themselves up as the new empire. We'll be covering this in a lot more depth as we move along. We are very aware that the things won't be all cakes for the good guys now, not by a long shot. As you can see from that letter and some of the other ones here, people was kind of concerned about the fall of the Empire, that they just fell and Marvel was just going to let that be the end of it. But as you can see, these comics going, they deal with a lot more. Now, from what I understand, from what I read, is George Lucas kind of tied their hands of what they could and couldn't deal with after the fall of the Empire or after Return of the Jedi. They couldn't deal with a new Sith Lord, I think Jedis, and they couldn't really deal with much of the Empire storyline either. But let's read one more question. Dear Rebels, I just bought Star Wars number 84. It was really great until I saw the last picture. Han Solo kissing a lady. Leia ought to do something about that. She should tell that girl, hands off the merchandise. Hey, he's taken. And then she should slap Han really hard about 5 times across his face. After that, Luke and Lando should shove him around for a while, just to make sure he doesn't mess around anymore. Please don't make Han Solo run off with some floozy. It would break Leia's heart. Not to mention, it would make me feel bad too. They should always be together. Please don't split them up. Please, please, please. From Shannon Spears. No address was given for Shannon. I kind of wish I could talk to Shannon right now. I kind of wonder what she thinks about the whole Han and Leia, how they ended up kind of split up when we get into The Force Awakens. Be interesting to kind of get her take on things now. And she wasn't the only one that wrote this in. There was probably about 3 other questions that came in about Han kissing this woman. So let's get the reply from Marvel. Han wouldn't dare fool around, Shannon. Not with someone like you keeping an eye on him. Boy, are you tough. We hate to think how you punish someone you aren't in love with. Say, maybe you'll like to try out for one of our female villain roles. Seriously. In Han's defense, we must point out to all of you who objected that Han was kissing Femme Noir. She was kissing him. He certainly didn't encourage it. And if he was pleasantly surprised, well, who could blame him? The way she had been talking, he was probably afraid he was going to get shot in the chops. This has nothing to do with his love for Leia. And that's just 2 letters from the Star Wars. Again, we're reading from the Marvel issue number 81. Oh, sorry, I said 81. 91. From January 1985, 2 years after Return of the Jedi. I think these are interesting. That's one thing I love about these Marvel. The storylines might not always be great. Seeing the art and really the mind frame, the ads, and what people were saying about Star Wars back then kind of really takes you back, especially if you didn't grow up in this time. It's very interesting to read. You get kind of an insight of what people like myself growing up with Star Wars was thinking about this, especially at this time when we all thought Star Wars was on its last legs, when we thought we were seeing the last of Star Wars. You know, we all hoped that George would get around to the prequels, but it didn't look like it, or at least not anytime soon. We didn't think we would ever see 9 episodes. You know, we never thought, 40 years after A New Hope that it would be just as big today, if not bigger than it was back then, because it was so big back then. How could it get bigger? In the news. Okay, so what's the Star Wars news? Not really much news out there, but let's talk about Han Solo, the Solo movie. Where is the trailer? That's what I want to know. Now, I tweeted earlier this week that I was told from a guy that works at the corporate office at AMC that a trailer would be attached, or he said placed with, I don't know what the difference is really, with Maze Runner, and we would get it online sometime around Wednesday or Thursday. It's Thursday now, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen, so I was wrong. The funny thing is, I tweet rumors and stuff like this all the time. No one really cares. I get maybe 3 or 4 likes, and that's the end of it. But some reason, this one got picked up by comicbook.com and a whole bunch of other news sites. So it blew up. So I apologize. I'm not a news guy. If I hear something and it sounds credible, I will tweet it out there. But I did put a hashtag on it, rumor. So I didn't put it out as fact or anything. I just classified it as rumor. But where's this Han Solo trailer? It's killing me here. Now, I understand they didn't want to market it before The Last Jedi. I understood that going in. I knew we wouldn't see any Solo promotion before that, or I didn't think we would. I hoped for a trailer during The Force Awakens. It made the most sense, but they didn't want to do that. Disney or Lucasfilm likes to promote one Star Wars film at a time. They promoted The Force Awakens. You didn't see any Rogue One promotion until a few days after The Force Awakens got released on home video. Then they promoted the Rogue One. You didn't see The Last Jedi promotion until what? A couple of days after Rogue One hit home release. But they can't really wait that long with Solo. I mean, it comes out in what, 4 months? 5 months? 4 months in May? And the DVD to The Last Jedi is probably going to hit around the 1st of April. They can't wait that long. We've got to see this trailer. Now, one of the writers over at Entertainment Weekly, who's always in on the know about Star Wars stuff, said, very soon we'll get a trailer, very soon. Ron Howard said it's coming very soon. Where is it? I know everybody out there is screaming, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. It's not going to happen at the Super Bowl. And I'm going to record this so I can look stupid if it is. But I'm 99.9% sure it's not going to be during the Super Bowl. I hear it every year. Oh, there's going to be a Force Awakens trailer during the Super Bowl. I said, no, they're not. There wasn't one. Rogue One. Heard there was going to be one. There wasn't one. The Last Jedi. Heard the Super Bowl trailer. Wasn't one. They like Star Wars to be the big deal, a big event. So they put it on Monday Night Football. Everybody was talking about it. They like to, as the young kids say, break the internet. Now, they could spend millions and put it during the Super Bowl and share that fame with, not only just Super Bowl, other movie trailers, dozens of good quality commercials. And I don't see Lucasfilm doing that. I don't see them sharing the spotlight. They want to release it online, maybe on Good Morning America or some other game, something like that. I've heard rumors maybe the opening ceremony of the Olympics. They did that with Rogue One. I could see them doing that, but not sharing it with a Super Bowl. They want to put it on TV, put it online, and then have every news site, not just movie sites, not just people like me or Star Wars news sites or even movie sites. They want everyone to talk about the trailer. So you release it on a dead day where it's not that much hype. And then it's everywhere on the internet. It's in everybody's face. You can't go online while seeing. You can't check your Facebook while seeing links to it. You can't get on Twitter while seeing everybody talking about it. That's what Disney wants. They're not going to mix this into the Super Bowl. Again, I don't see them sharing that spotlight. I'm hoping we get it before. Now, I honestly thought we were going to get it this week. But I think we're going to get it very soon, by the end of this month. I hope so anyway. And while we're on the subject of the Solo movie, what is all this hate about the Solo movie? And don't give me that, I didn't ask for it. Nobody asked for the Han Solo movie. Who cares? There's a lot of movies out there we didn't ask for. I get so sick of hearing we didn't ask for it, or nobody asked for it. Some people asked for it. I didn't mind it. I didn't ask for it, but I didn't mind it. You know who did ask for it? Lawrence Kasdan, the guy that made Han Solo who he is. He wrote Han Solo in The Empire Strikes Back. He wrote Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. The Han Solo we all love, except for A New Hope. But when we really got to know Han in Empire Strikes Back, Lawrence Kasdan wrote it. He's been trying to get a Han Solo movie off the ground, and I'm pretty sure part of his deal for The Force Awakens was that he would get to write the Han Solo movie. I mean, Lawrence Kasdan, he wrote Return of the Jedi. Like I said, Empire Strikes Back. He also wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, Silverado. He's got a whole great resume of stuff he's written. And the movie's directed by Ron Howard. Ron freaking Howard directed this. Cocoon, Apollo 13. I mean, I could sit here, Backdraft. I could sit here all day and name stuff that he's done. Sure, you're going to say, well, what has he done lately? What has he done for me lately? Maybe not a lot. Maybe he hasn't done anything really great. That racing movie I heard was pretty good. I can't think of the name. Drive. I can't remember the name of it right now. Was that it? I heard it was pretty good. I didn't see it. He's done those Tom Hanks 2 sequel movies that was based on that book series. I heard it wasn't too good. I don't really know. So I don't understand why this movie just hearing about it sounds great. I mean, the smuggler underworld. How can you not want to see this movie? It just sounds amazing. And the guy that's playing Han Solo, Alden, I can't never say his name right. I saw him in Hail Caesar, and he was amazing in it. The movie sucked. The movie was boring. But if you read the reviews, even from people that hated that movie, most of them point to his performance about how great he was. And it's kind of funny because in that movie, he's playing an actor that's not really good at acting. And somebody told me online, they said, oh, he wasn't acting. He just wasn't any good. So that's why he did so good at that. That's stupid bullshit because he's great in the movie. And he's great when he's in the movie acting like he's an actor in the movie. He's very good. If you've never seen Hail Caesar, it's not a great movie. I find it kind of boring, and I love the Coen brothers. But check it out. He's really great in that movie. And I've seen him in some other things. He's really good. Donald Glover, from what I've seen him in Little Things. Excellent also. Woody Harrelson, up for an Oscar this year. You know he can act his ass off. And I know people say, well, they fired the directors. That means this movie's horrible. No, it doesn't. It means Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, and Disney gives a shit about this movie. What would 90% of other studios do if they saw the dailies or saw the way the movie was going and they didn't like it? They would say, hey, keep them on. We're almost done. We'll fix it in editing. And then they would let them finish it and they bring someone in and try to edit. I think that's what happens with Suicide Squad. Am I right? But what does Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm and Disney do? They fire them. They throw them out because, from what I understand, they didn't want to go back and edit. They didn't want to work with someone else because it was going off Lawrence Kasdan's script. Lawrence Kasdan, you don't go away from what Lawrence Kasdan writes. I'm sorry. Now, you can make an argument Disney shouldn't have hired them to start with. Disney should have known how they do, that the ad-lib stuff. I'll give you that. But that doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the film. So what did they do instead of trying to fix it later in editing or fix it, or just, they could have just said, it's Star Wars, it's going to make millions, throw it out there anyway. No, they cared about the quality. So they they hired Ron Howard and almost started over. From what I'm hearing, about 90% of the movie was redone. So you can't base if this movie's going to be good or bad off that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping other people's going to get on board once the trailer comes out because I understand all the hate for it. There's a group of people out there, and I'll get in trouble for saying this probably, or bitched at for saying this, but there's a group of people that want Star Wars to fail. Even people that haven't seen it, they want Han Solo to fail even if they haven't seen it. I don't know why. Why would you want Star Wars to fail? And I've heard people say, well, they don't like the direction they're going. Okay, maybe they don't like the Saga series, but why do they want Han Solo to fail? They don't know which direction Han Solo is going. I know, they want an Old Republic. Everybody online, Old Republic. I don't really give a shit about the Old Republic. Sorry, I said it. I don't really give a shit about seeing movies about the Old Republic. I know I'm in the majority maybe for that, but just as interest, how much will I see a Han Solo movie? Now, I'll be frank too, I was hoping it wouldn't be an origin. I hope we would just pick up in a Han Solo adventure, learn a little bit about him, and just have a Han Solo movie. I didn't care about seeing him and meeting Chewie, him and Lando getting the Falcon, the Castle Run, and all that. I didn't care about all that, but I'll go into it with open eyes, and I'm sure I'm going to love this movie. It's freaking Han Solo. But if you don't want to see the Han Solo movie, don't go see the Han Solo movie. Then it will never happen in your mind. It'd be like it was never there. Or just, if you don't want the Han Solo movie, don't criticize it. Just wait till you see it. Then if you don't like it, get online and bitch about it. No problem. But this bitching and complaining about a movie that's not even out yet, saying it's gonna fail, it's horrible, the actors suck, the writer sucks, and all this stuff, it just makes you look dumb. To sit there and bash a movie that we haven't even seen a trailer for, hadn't even seen a real official still photo from. And some people's gonna say, well, that's a sign right there, it sucks. No, it's just a sign that they don't want to promote it yet. That's all that's showing us. I can't wait for this Han Solo movie, but this trailer is gonna be important. I said it on Twitter. This is probably the most important trailer I've ever known for a movie. People will say, well, The Force Awakens was an important trailer. Sure, it was an important trailer to let us know how Disney was doing with Star Wars. I give you that. But I bet you 90% of the people that saw the trailer to The Force Awakens, even if the trailer sucked, will still want to go see the Force Awakens. This isn't the same for Han Solo. You can make or break this movie with a bad trailer. If you release a trailer and the guy playing Han Solo doesn't come across as a Harrison Ford Han Solo type, doesn't seem right, it's going to turn off a lot of fans that are already on the fence about this. If the trailer just looks bad, the storyline and the movie and everything looks bad, there goes the other people that's sitting on the fence that's not going to go see it. This is a make and break. This trailer is a make and break for this film, unlike any movie I can think of. You might have, if you can know one out there that's maybe more important, let me know. But this is, everything hinges on this first trailer. Like I said, if it's god-awful, you're going to have people, first you're going to have the haters that are going to hate it already. You're going to have those on the fence that's not sure about it, not wanting to see it. And then you're going to bring over some people that really didn't care either way or wanted to see Han Solo. They're going to be turned off by it. And everybody's going to lose. This trailer is going to have to kick balls.
Parents, you can be an instant winner of a super surprise.
Let's give away a prize. Let's give away a Gamorrean Guard, a 1983 Gamorrean Guard. Let's give away some other things also. Here's what you have to do. Email me at kennertoys@starwarsjunk.net. Again, the email is kennertoys@starwarsjunk.net. Put in the subject line the following code: 113852577. You should know what all that means. Put that in the subject, and then inside the email, put your name, your shipping address. If you do not have your shipping address inside the email or your name, you will not win. I'm not going to track down people for their address. I'm going to randomly pick someone, open the email. If it doesn't have an address to it, I'm going to pick the next person before or after the one I selected. So please, put your name and shipping address within the email. Now, like I said, I'm going to give away more than just the Morning and Guard. I'm not sure what else I'm going to give away. I will send you an email if you're one of the winners. If you didn't win, then you're not going to get an email. Today is January 25th. I'm going to give this until February the 1st before I decide who's going to win. So if you're listening to this after February the 1st, 2018, don't send me an email because the prize is already gone. And if you haven't heard anything by February the 2nd, then you didn't win.
You don't know Star Wars. Star Wars 1977. George Lucas. Greedo didn't shoot first, mother...
Now let's talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now I'm going to sit here and do a review for it because I've done reviews of it on YouTube, and anybody that follows my Star Wars Junk Twitter knows how I feel. But I thought I'd at least talk about it because I hadn't talked about it on the podcast. Why don't you like this movie? What is wrong with you people? I love this movie. I did like Force Awakens better, I'll give you that. And of course I didn't like it anywhere near the original trilogy, but the original trilogy has so much history on it, it's hard for me to like it. But I love this movie. I love that everything went wrong for everybody. I love Poe's character. I didn't care much for Poe in The Force Awakens, but I love this. I loved every plan he had is wrong. Everything he did was wrong. It really was something there. Every time what I loved about this movie, every time I thought they were going to do something, in my head, they didn't do it. When I watched it on the screen for the first time, I thought, okay, I see where this is going. Bam, it didn't go that way. Even the smallest little things. I remember seeing Luke's X-Wing in the water on his island, and I thought, well, he's going to use that to get off his island. Nope, he didn't use it. Never saw it again. I love that. Every time I thought it was going a certain way, it didn't go that way. And in that throne room with Rey, Kylo's about to kill Rey, or so you think, and you hear Snoke saying he's going to strike down his greatest enemy. I thought, what the hell are they going to do? How are they going to do this? One, you're not going to kill Rey. I know that. And I really didn't think they were going to kill Snoke. I was really on the edge of my seat, unlike any Star Wars movie has done in a really long time. I said, okay, they can't kill Rey. I didn't think they would kill Snoke until the third movie, which I'm glad they did. I'm glad they killed him. He needed to die. We need a kick-ass episode 9 of just Rey versus Kylo. I don't need Rey versus the Emperor / Snoke. We've seen that. We don't need that anymore. What we need going into 9 is Rey has studied those Jedi's books that she took from the temple. She's ready to kick some ass. And I want a badass Kylo by episode 9. This guy, his father is dead. By this time the movie comes out, his mom's probably going to be dead if they don't recast her. Luke Skywalker's dead. And he's going to be pissed by episode 9 and hopefully more powerful. So I want to see him kicking ass through the movie, and I wanted it to end with Rey kicking his ass. Don't redeem Kylo Ren. I know you're going to say, well, come on, it's going to redeem itself. No. Don't redeem yourself. We've seen the redemption story with Anakin. I don't want to see it again. I want to see a big-ass great fight scene, and I want to see Kylo Ren, that son of a bitch, slowly die in pain. He killed my childhood hero, Han Solo. He's the reason Luke Skywalker's dead. I don't want to see this guy redeemed. And who else doesn't want to see him redeemed? Chewbacca. There's no way Chewbacca's going to forgive him. Now, I guess he could redeem himself by dying, but still, I don't want that. I want this son of a bitch to die slow and painful. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to go into a whole spew about the movie because you all know how I feel, but I'm going to touch on some key points I asked on Twitter. Give me 5 things you didn't like about the movie, and I kind of address them here. The way they portrayed Luke Skywalker. How could you not love this? What did you want? The same old Luke Skywalker we got in Return of the Jedi 30 years later? He hasn't changed any? I mean, come on. How boring is that? He was essentially, what you want is a Yoda in the new movies. You wanted Luke to be the Yoda of this new movie. Boring. We've seen that. Let's do something different, guys. Star Wars has got to grow. We can't sit here and have the same old thing. Oh, he's just on this island. And he's going to train Rey, just like Yoda trained Luke. We've seen that. That's not original. It's boring. And I bet you half of you would have complained, oh, this isn't anything new. This isn't anything different. This is just Empire Strikes Back again, if that's the route they went. What else could you do with him? And we knew in The Force Awakens how he ran off. That's why I don't get people act like they're surprised. And let me talk about this map thing, because people seem to be so damn confused about this map. He did not give a map to anyone so they could find him. Max von Sydow, I can't think of his name now. He found a map to Luke Skywalker, which he thought was Luke Skywalker. R2 had a piece of the map also that he got from the Death Star. Luke never gave anybody a map and said, hey, come find me when things get bad. Because you know why? Things were bad when he left. And when he was leaving, things were bad. So that makes no sense. Why come get him when it gets bad when it's already bad? And if he wanted someone to come get him, why not give the map to Princess Leia? Makes no sense. Luke didn't want to be found. We knew that on The Force Awakens. At least that's when I walked out of The Force Awakens. I thought he was into hiding. So what kind of Luke Skywalker did you want? And let's talk about this Luke Skywalker having thoughts about killing Ben Solo or Kylo Ren. People are hung up on this. It's like 5 seconds of this guy's life. He looks at Ben Solo and sees the evil he's going to do. He has seen. This is a guy that grew up, saw what the Emperor did. Saw what Darth Vader did. And for a second he thought, hey, I better do something about this now because this guy's not going to change back. He didn't feel any good in him. He didn't feel that Ben was going to redeem himself. He felt good in Darth Vader still. He didn't feel that in Ben Solo. So what does he do? For a few seconds, he has a bad thought. Let me take this guy out now before he ends up killing thousands of people, making life hell for everybody. It's just a thought he had. It doesn't mean he was going to do it. But people get hung up on it like he really sat there and was going to, like he sat there for years about how am I going to kill Ben Solo? I'm going to have to kill my nephew. No, it was just a thought he had one time at night. And sadly, Kylo Ren or Ben Solo woke up right when he was having that thought. It doesn't change Luke Skywalker at all. Now, Luke Skywalker didn't kill him, so Luke Skywalker's got a lot of guilt in him. He's let the monster out of the bag, so a lot is going to happen, which is Luke Skywalker is seeing all the bad stuff Kylo Ren's going to do. He's got all that weight on his shoulder. That's his fault. If he took him out as a child or took him out, when he was Ben Solo, he would have saved a lot of people's lives if he took Ben Solo out. So he's got all that weight on him when he runs off. And another thing everyone hates about The Last Jedi, Mary Poppins, Princess Leia. And I can't sit here and really defend it. I understand that she can use the Force. And I can understand that with no gravity, she just isn't really, she's not flying. She's just using the Force pull. I get all that. And I don't have no problem with what happened. My problem is how it looked. It looked stupid. So I'm not going to sit here and defend that part. Again, it didn't bother me that it happened. What bothered me is how they filmed it or how it looked. It just looks really stupid. The casino subplot, yeah, it wasn't the best storyline for Star Wars. It was better than any of the storylines in The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, probably. So I'm not going to give, that was what, 15 minutes of the movie? It's nothing to get hung up on. A lot of people hung up on it. Come on. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever the whole 2 hours. That's where you go get your popcorn and you get to take a piss. That's just what it is. It's nothing special. It's nothing to get upset about. It's not great. It's not horrible. People criticize Rose because she's not this great character. Well, can't somebody would just be a simple character? It doesn't have to be anything special or great. Look at Wedge in the original trilogy. It was just Wedge. Couldn't Rose just be Rose, a boring character? Can't there be boring characters in Star Wars? Does everyone have to be super great at everything they do? Does everyone have to be some super great character? No, you can just have a boring, mediocre character. And that's what Rose is, a mediocre character. But I went through all this on my Twitter over and over again, and y'all don't want to hear it, so let's move on.
It's Darth Vader, watch out! And he's got a lightsaber!
Normally, this is where I end the podcast, and for the last 5 or 10 minutes, I talk about a non-Kenner Star Wars toy. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to tell you about a Netflix show I kind of talked about on the last podcast. If you're a big Kenner fan, you probably already know about it, but if you didn't, here's your chance. It's called The Toys That Made Us. Right now, there's only about 4 episodes on. I think they filmed 8, because I know there's a Transformer one's coming out too. But the first one, the main one for me to watch anyway, is the one about Kenner, the Star Wars Kenner line. It's amazing. I love this. It's about an hour long, and it's filled with information. And there was stuff in there I didn't know. And I know a lot. I've been collecting vintage Star Wars things. Well, I played with them in the 80s, started collecting them in the 90s. It's very rare for me to watch something about the Kenner Star Wars toys and not know anything about it already. But they did fill me in on some stuff I didn't know. And that's great. If you have Netflix, check it out. It's called The Toys That Made Us. It's great. I know they did a Barbie one, and it took me a while to watch the Barbie one because I don't know Barbie. I'm not really into Barbie. And it was a very good one also. I learned a lot about Barbie. And if you watch that Barbie one, just be careful, because they talked to this lady that I think she works at Mattel, or did work at Mattel. And in the background, she has this kind of weird looking seat with this very creepy nude mannequin or something all crinkled up in a seat. It's so distracting and so, it freaks you out. And that's all you can see while she's talking. You're like, what is that behind her? What is that? Somebody bought that and put it in their house? It's a naked model. It's a naked mannequin scrunched up in a chair. It's so odd. And then they did the G.I. Joe. I don't know much about G.I. Joe, but I learned a lot about it watching that. And the other one they have online so far is the one about He-Man. Now, I grew up on He-Man also. I've talked about it before. I traded in my Star Wars stuff. Well, not actually traded in, but just quit buying Star Wars stuff around 84 when I was forced, thanks to Santa Claus or my parents, buying me He-Man. And they got this whole documentary on there about He-Man. And it's great, too. You learn a lot about the He-Man line. And, you know, with the Star Wars Kenner stuff, you kind of hear all this stuff. There's a lot out there in the world. There's a lot out there on the internet about Kenner. There's books even about Kenner and Star Wars. So to see something focused on He-Man, you know, you probably hear a lot about G.I. Joe, too. I'm sure there's a lot of books on G.I. Joe. But He-Man, you really don't get that much information about that. Now, if you're really into the collecting it, you probably knew a lot of that stuff already. But you don't see it like you do Star Wars or G.I. Joe. So that was kind of nice having the He-Man. I learned a lot because, like I said, I grew up on He-Man, but I didn't have a love for it like I did Star Wars. I haven't gone back and looked into the making of them and the story behind it and all that. You know, I've heard some things here and there, but this documentary really gets into depth about the making of the He-Man line or Masters Universe. My brother used to get so mad because I called it Masters. I don't know why he get mad about this stuff, but he would get up and I'll say, hey, I'm going to play He-Man. It's not He-Man, it's Masters of the Universe. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. When I say He-Man, I mean Masters of the Universe. When I say I'm going to play He-Man, I don't mean I'm going to go get He-Man out of my shoebox and just play with He-Man. I'm going to play Masters of the Universe. We used to have a department store in town. It was called Keys. Well, it was called Keys Catalog Showroom. And it would have said him when I said, hey, everybody, you want to go to Keys Catalog Showroom? He said, you don't have to say that. That's just a slogan. I said, it's not just a slogan. It's the name of the store. He said, just call Keys. Everybody knows what you're talking about. I said, no, I want to go to Keys Catalog Showroom. And then on Friday night, I would say, hey, anybody want to come over? Anybody want to come to my room and watch V, the series? And he would pull his hair out. You don't have to call it V, the series. It's V. Well, I said, I don't want them to think I'm up here watching the V movie, the miniseries. I want them to know I'm watching the TV show. Everybody knows the show comes on at Friday night at 8 o'clock, 7 Central. You don't have to say V, the series. I don't know why, but whenever I said something in the full title, it would upset him. To me, the show was called V, the series. It wasn't called V. It was called V, the series. And the Keys department store wasn't called just Keys. It was called Keys Catalog Showroom. And Master Universe, I just shortened it and called it He-Man. I think we all called it He-Man. And I think the cartoon was called He-Man in the Master Universe. Am I correct about that? I have to double check. A lot of people say, well, Master Universe is kind of based on comic books too, not just the cartoon. It was all about the cartoon for me. I know that movie sucks. Came out later. It had nothing to do with the... If you're going to do He-Man, make it part of the cartoon. I want to see Prince Adam. I want to see Orak. I want to see He-Man. I want to see Man-at-Arms. I want to see Tila. I don't care what they did in some comic book before the cartoon or during the run of the cartoon. To me, He-Man toys, He-Man cartoon. That's one and the same. Oh, and while we're talking about V, the series, I used to love this show. I would run home. That was one of the few shows that I had to watch. And I haven't seen that show since way back in the 80s. I need to go back and watch it. I wonder how it holds up now. Oh, that miniseries. Man, they did a V, at least one figure, one like doll-sized figure of a V figure. I wish they did a whole line. That would have been amazing. And come on, they did a Love Boat action figure line. Why couldn't they give us a good V action figure line? And while we're on that topic, how about Magnum? Now, I know they did a Thomas Magnum figure with a car, but they could have given us a great Magnum PI line with Rick and TC and Higgins. Oh, man, I would have loved a Higgy baby action figure. The Fall Guy, that would have been another great one. I think they did a Lee Majors figures, but they didn't do an actual action figure line. Oh, a Kenner Fall Guy action figure line come with a stunt bag. He could do all kinds of stuntman play sets. That would have been awesome. Another one I would have loved as a kid. Well, my brother would have loved this one. Here's one my brother would have loved. He's a little older than me. Sheriff Lobo. Does anyone out there remember Sheriff Lobo? Oh, what is a spinoff of BJ and the Bear? I'm sure you remember BJ and the Bear. I don't think many people remember Sheriff Lobo. My brother would have killed for some Sheriff Lobo toys. I just love saying the name, Sheriff Lobo. What else would they have made that would have been cool? Airwolf would have probably been a good little line. You probably couldn't do that many figures of it, but anything that comes with a helicopter would have been great. Oh, Tales of the Gold Monkey. Now I can see why they probably didn't do figures of that. That didn't last, one season, I think? Does anybody remember that one, Tales of the Gold Monkey? It was like a fake Indiana Jones made by the guy that made Magnum P.I. I can't think of his name right now. They made Magnum, Quantum Leap, and some other stuff. Wow, Quantum Leap. I know that's more 90s, but man, a Quantum Leap action figure line, wouldn't that have been cool to grow up with? I mean, you could have had 4 or 5 different Sams. You could have had Sam in drag, Sam as a baseball player. You could just do a whole line of just Sam dressed differently. That would have been a great line. How? Man, I love Quantum Leap. Remember that? They're bringing back all these shows. Bring back Quantum Leap. Get Sam Beckett back. If you're going to do a Quantum Leap, there's 2 shows I want. If they ever do come back, they have to have some of the original cast. First, Quantum Leap. You have to have Scott Bakula back. I don't care if you reboot it and he's not the main star. He's maybe trained someone else to go leaping or something. You've got to have him back in there. You just have to. I would love to see a new Quantum Leap. I think that was an amazing idea for a show. It was a great show, and just the concept was great. And they're reviving all these shows. So there's been rumors before of Sam Beckett and his daughter leaping around. And I know people can complain about the last episode. To me, that Quantum Leap, the last episode, when he goes into that bar, leaps into himself, that's one of the best endings to a TV show ever. Sure, it didn't give you the happy ending of Sam returning home. I'm a sucker for not giving the happy ending. I love when they do something different that you didn't expect and kind of leave you kind of hanging. I always love that. I think that's why I love Empire so much, because it had the cliffhanger. I've always been a sucker for the cliffhanger. And the other show, if you ever revive, and I've heard rumors of this also, is Magnum P.I. If you ever bring back the Magnum P.I. show, how can you do it without Tom Selleck? Now, I heard one time they were going to talk about bringing it back. Thomas Magnum's daughter was going to be like the private investigator, but you have to have Tom Selleck in it. You can't do Magnum without Tom Selleck. Them are the 2 shows you can't bring back without the major star. You can't do you can't do a Magnum movie and have somebody else. Oh, wouldn't it be great if they gave us a Magnum movie with Tom Selleck? Sadly, Higgy Baby's gone now, but he could have Rick and TC in it. Wow, a Magnum movie. They would never do that today, though, because the kids that mostly go see movies in their 20s, they don't know who Thomas Magnum is. That's sad. If you don't know who Thomas Magnum is, get the Starz app. It's on the Starz app. You can watch every season on Starz. Magnum P.I. was a great show. And thing that were Quantum Leap. Them are the 2 I would love to see come back. Well, here I was supposed to talk about toys, and here I am talking about TV shows that I love. Well, 2 TV shows I love in the 80s and the 90s. But hey, that's what they call me, the Rambling Man. That's why I ramble, right? It's not just talking about Kenner. We ramble about everything here. What are some toys lines you would have loved to saw in the 80s when you were a kid? Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me some toys lines you would have loved as a kid. Man, Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon series. Wow, why didn't we get figures of that? Honestly, why not? Now, there were some Dungeons and Dragons figures in the 80s. Wasn't based on the cartoon. That would have been an amazing toy line. Every other hit cartoon series got a toy line, didn't it? Dungeons and Dragons. And while we're on the subject of Dungeons and Dragons, I think I talked about this before. Anybody there on Netflix? Bring Dungeons and Dragons back and give us that final episode. Those kids need to come home. Someone bring those kids home. Man, the thing is, I didn't appreciate Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. I didn't watch it. And then back in the 90s, I got some videos of it. And I watched it in the 80s, but I didn't really love it like I did in the 90s when I was in my 20s. I got really into it again. And I thought, man, why didn't I give this more of a chance? I would watch it on Saturday mornings when there was nothing else on. But I didn't really get that much involved in it like I did in the 90s, and it blew me away. And you want to talk about cartoon? An action figure line of Star Blazers. Who out there remember Star Blazers? That's like one of the first cartoons. The second cartoon. My first memory of a cartoon series that we all fell in love with at my house, well, me and my brother, my sister was off watching Solid Gold all the time, was Speed Racer. Wow, man, I love some Speed Racer. I'm sure you all remember Speed Racer. But after Speed Racer came Star Blazers. I know it's got another name in Japan and everything, and it's still kind of popular over there. I've heard some rumors about a live-action movie. But, man, if right there around the 80s, if I had Star Blazers action figures and that ship, Man, can you imagine that? Was it like a battleship they turned into a spaceship? If they had that thing as a playset back then, it would have blown my mind. And then, Space Giants. I think I've talked about this on the podcast. If I have, sorry, but Space Giants was my first love. I guess Star Wars was my first love. My first favorite TV show was Star Blazers. It was probably late 70s. I think it was filmed in the 60s maybe. It came on TBS, and it was like the Power Rangers maybe of that era. I don't know if you can call it that. It's kind of like a Japanese movie. It had these characters, and he had a little boy and a mom and he had the grandpa wizard, but you had a little boy, mom, and the dad that would turn into rockets, and this little Asian kid who would have a whistle, and he would blow that whistle depending on what kind of help he needed. If he just needed a little help, he called the little boy. I think he'd blow it like one time, and the little boy would transform it, shape into a rocket, and he would fly over there. And 2 times the mom would come, 3 whistles, and that was, oh shit, something's going bad. Dad's coming. The Goldar. Yeah, that's what his name was, Goldar. I think that was his name. Oh, and then they had the bad guys that were all black, and they melted. They turned into this green slime. Oh man, what was that? Lugu Men. Lugu Men? Was that what it was? Oh, and I want to say Hordak. That's not his name. Who was the bad guy in Space Giants? He is so creepy looking. And he reminds me, every time I see him, he would remind me of this friend that my grandma used to have. This lady looked just like the bad guy on Space Giants. Who was that? Oh, it's going to kill me. I don't remember his name. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, well. Anybody out there remember Space Giants? 3:05 TBS. Run home after school. Got to see Space Giants. Okay, I rambled long enough. I'm getting all carried away. Sometimes the podcast is probably at its best when I'm just rambling like this. Maybe I just need to do a whole rambling episode. I don't know. You might hate the rambling part of it. But we get in some wild topics when I just go off rambling. If you want to win that Good Morning Guard figure, I hope you heard. Go back and listen to what you have to do to win that. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. And again, I say this all the time. If you collect a Kenner line or 80s toy line, you want to come on and talk about it, hit me up on the email. Send me at junk@starwarsjunk.net. I would love to have you on. It gets kind of hard to talk about these toys by myself, and I want to go on besides just Star Wars toys and talk other things. But Star Wars is what I know, so it's hard for me to talk about other lines. But again, thank you all for listening. And again, check us out, starwarsjunk.net. There you'll find all the Twitter links, the YouTube links, everything you need. It's right there at starwarsjunk.net. And hopefully I won't take another month to do another one of these, because I really love doing it. It's just finding the time to do it. That's the problem. Thank you again for listening, guys. This is the Kenner Chronicles, Ramblings of a Toy Junkie. That's me.
Star Wars is my Vietnam.